Good to see you again, Nico.
What's going on, man?
Oh, not much. Kind of been just taking it all in, It's been kind of a wild ride these past few months. So,
Ain't that the truth? But it's gonna get better or wilder. At least, the way I see it is Trump is a gift that keeps on giving. As a content creator, I'm never gonna run out of stuff to talk about.
that is for sure.
Love him, hate him, disagree, whatever how you see him, he's always giving. He's a very
Always.
giving man.
Especially this last week. My goodness, did you have people panicking? That was crazy.
Yeah, but at the same time, it just shows how uneducated the average voter is. And I've
Yeah.
been talking a lot about the tariffs recently because it's a big deal, right? People are talking about it left, right, and center. People are worried. People are nervous. And I get it. I understand. But at the same time, man, like just right now, I have alarms on my laptop and NASDAQ is up 1.67%. And I was posting about this just yesterday or 2 days ago how people are panicking. He's destroying our 401k. He's dismantling the middle class. I'm like, we're up. The NASDAQ, the Dow, the SP 500 is up from a year ago under Joe Biden. And he was able to keep it up by putting tariffs on half the fucking world and having 75 countries agree to sit down and renegotiate reciprocal tariffs that are already in place. Are you kidding me? He did this without even destroying the economy. Yet on Monday, people were saying that it's going to be Black Monday 2.0, like in 1987, where the market crashed 22% in one day. It was up more than 1% from the Friday to the Monday. Are you kidding me? Like, what are people smoking? Like, they listen to MSNBC, to CNN, and they never just use a simple tool called Google, and you
Hmm.
can actually just type. It's very interesting. It has a search bar at the top. You just write whatever the fuck you want to research. You click enter. Yet it is the most leftist search engine out there. I use DuckDuckGo and I use Brave as browsers when I want to make sure that I'm getting the right information. But you don't even need to. You can simply use Google, and it's going to show you what I just said. Like Google has they track the Dow, they track Nasdaq, they track S&P 500. So you can get the information directly from them. Yet people don't, and they call me names when I share that information.
It's crazy. Yeah. That's like the same kind
And
of
those people
people.
are allowed to vote. Those people are allowed to
Yeah.
vote. And you wonder why we're so screwed. And I'm not saying they
Honestly.
shouldn't be allowed to vote. That's not what I'm saying. But what
Right.
I'm saying is that that level of uneducation or that level of idiocity is still allowed to vote while calling me names for simply pointing facts. Not my opinion, just facts. But I'm wrong because it hurts their feelings. Live in a
Yeah.
beautiful time, bro.
Really. The same kind of people that think that destroying a Tesla car is somehow saving
Oh,
democracy. Ugh,
you know what I love the most about this
crazy.
is, and I posted about this a few weeks ago, and the post went completely viral. Basically, all I said is that the people that used to buy Tesla cars, or the vast majority of people that own Tesla cars, were climate change supporters, lefties. And now you have lefties destroying other lefties' cars because they don't like the person that already got paid for the car. So what are we saying here? You're destroying your allies' property to get back at a guy that used to be a Democrat, but because now he's working with a guy you don't like, he's necessarily wrong. But you're literally destroying your own parties or your own supporters' property to hate somebody that already got paid. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't even know what to say to this outside of
Yeah.
pointing the irony and just like, are you serious? This is your stance. This is where you're gonna die. This is the hill you want to die on. Awesome.
Mhm,
Wow.
mhm.
It just confirms to me that, 100 years ago, those people wouldn't have been able to just go to the grocery store and have all of their needs met at the local Walmart. They would have, like most of those people 100, 150 years ago, wouldn't be alive because they would have had
No.
to have certain skill to survive. And obviously, their intelligence wouldn't have been one of them. So what would they have done? Die. So this is what happens when you're so comfortable living in a society that provides for you every single need that you have. You
Yeah.
get people like them rising into power and having an opinion that is completely unfunded. Not only is it not funded on anything, it is so ironic that they don't even realize how ironic it is. And that's part of the irony.
Hmm.
It blows my mind that this is even a conversation. But yet, here you go.
Hmm.
I make content around this every day, and I'm just pointing out the idiocy of those people. Just the irony. I shouldn't say idiocy. I shouldn't be calling them name, but the irony is so funny because they don't see the irony of their actions. Yet they call
Hmm.
me name for being a Trumpist when I sit somewhere in the middle. We live in a beautiful time, bro.
Yeah, really. I did not see that one on like expected things to happen this year. Like I saw this really funny thing. It was like someone said, "I bought this in 2020 before Musk became right, and I stand for
A Nazi.
LGBTQ stuff." Yeah, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like you have to write that on your car so someone else doesn't damage it." I'm like, and the crazy
I,
thing is, they don't Celsas have the most cameras of any car, so it's like you're gonna get caught. Like it just baffles me.
it just shows you how the people that call themselves tolerant are the most intolerant people of them all. The people
Yeah,
that are calling Trump and calling Elon Musk Nazis cannot even define what a Nazi is. Because
yeah,
basically, if you look at not a Nazi's behavior, it would be theirs. People that are actually going after, that are oppressing others because of their viewpoints, and they're the same party that tells me that racism against white people does not exist. So they basically, every view that they have of tolerance is only if you tolerate them. It's really if you agree with them, not tolerate them. If you agree with them, they'll be tolerant. But they're basically intolerant of everybody that does not agree with them, and they'll call them Nazi when they're the ones behaving like Nazis. It's again, the irony in this is very, very, very funny.
it is.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, I'm happy that a guy like Trump won because you can see a cultural change going on right now. Like I spent half of my time in the US. I'm just back in Canada. I've been in Canada for a week and a half. Boy, do I miss Alabama. But the you see a massive cultural change in the US where people now, like, the more Trump is going to be in power, the more it's going to kind of shift to the middle again, because Trump is not a real Republican, right? He's not anti-abortion, he's not a Christian, he doesn't push those really primary Christian values that a normal Republican will have. So he's more somewhere in the middle because he's a Democrat, right? Trump, if he could have ran as a Democrat, would have ran it as a Democrat, but he knew that his ideas wouldn't fly with the Democratic Party. So he went on the Republican side, but he's not a real Republican. So as the more he's going to be in power, the more the cultural change is going to switch to somewhere in the middle, and the more the left is going to panic. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the last portion of the left that is panicking, that's going to attack everything that Trump does just because they don't know what else to do, because it's an existential crisis. They don't know what else to do because their woke mindset is dying right now, and even the left is looking at them like, what are you saying right now? Like, just look, do
Yeah.
you know the Save Act? We're just
I
talking about this morning for an hour and a half, but do you know that? Did you see the Save Act right now?
I didn't really know what was all in it, but
So basically, the Save Act, the Save as an SAVE Act, is a bill that the Republicans are pushing, which would try to prevent voter fraud.
mm,
In order to prevent voter fraud, they want every voter to show proof that they were either born in the US or they have a US citizenship. Makes sense to me, right?
yeah.
83%, as per polls, 83% of Americans agree on this. The Democrats right now are going ballistic because they're basically saying that Republicans are trying to pass a bill that will prevent married women from voting.
What?
And yes, exactly. And the way, because what they're saying is, okay, so now I got to prove that I'm a citizen or I was born here by showing proof of ID. And an ID that does not have my citizenship status on it is no longer acceptable alone. You will need to bring more documentation. So if you don't have one of your real ID, which 54% of Americans seems to already have after the polls, that it just indicates your status as a citizen, you will need to provide more proof like a birth certificate. If your name on your ID is not the same as on your birth certificate, like your driver's license, for example, you need to provide a marriage certificate to explain why it's different. That's an outcry somehow. This somehow is going to prevent women, married women, from voting. So basically, the Democrat Party right now is telling their voters that women are too dumb to keep track of documents to go vote. Like, are you kidding me? So we're basically telling our women that the Republicans are going to strap you to an oven again, and you won't be able to leave the house and vote because that's what Republicans want. So they're outright lying to you, and then they're saying, you know what, you're too dumb to keep track of documentation because if your ID does not match your birth certificate, that means you changed your name. In order to change that name, and 80% of people that will, 89, I think they were saying it's something like 80% of women will take their husband's name, their husband's last name. So
Mhm.
obviously their ID does not match their birth certificate because you don't change your birth certificate after changing your name. This is your original name. It never changes. You change your ID name. And the way to do it, the only way to do that is to have a marriage certificate. So if your ID does not match your birth certificate, that means that you have a marriage certificate somewhere because it was required for you to change your name to get a new ID. Do
Right.
you understand how nonsensical this is? But this is the people we're talking about. So the same people that are
Yeah.
destroying other people's cars, that are lefties as well, are telling us that somehow Republicans are trying to prevent married women from voting because they might not have access to their birth certificate or they might not have access to their marriage certificate. So basically, women are too stupid to keep track of documents or to order new ones if somehow they lose them. This is where we're at right now. So we're literally seeing the Democrat Party eating itself
Yeah.
as, you know, the snake that eats its own tail. And
Hmm.
right now, basically, the head is about to meet the head. Like there's no, like the jaw is eating the back of its own head somehow because there's
Yeah.
nothing else. So it's only going to get more ridiculous over the next few months until, or maybe a few years. We don't know because it feels like Trump's been in power for 10 years now, but he literally been in power for less than 100 days. So it's going to get very fucking interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. I know. I've been so excited just to like see what he's up to, because he's such a good chess player. You know, like he says
Yeah.
something, everyone gets so upset or so riled up. He'll be like, everything's gonna be okay, and then the next day just like swings in a new idea, a new strategy, and people are like, "Whoa, he's a genius," you know. But it's like he's probably thought
But
about this for
that's the
so
art
long.
of the deal. But that's the art of
Yeah.
the deal. If you read his book that was written somewhere in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, he will ask for something so ridiculous that you're going to be like, that guy's crazy. What the hell is wrong with this guy? And then you're going to come back with something that you've wanted all along. What was his goal?
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, that's it. That's not that bad. So I'm
Hmm.
going to be okay with this. What you don't understand is that he got exactly what he wanted from the get go, but sold you the idea so ridiculous that you were triggered by it. What do you think the tariffs are right now?
Yeah.
Everybody's freaking out. Oh no, the tariff is going to collapse the world. He just removed them all except for
Yeah.
one country, China.
Hmm.
So what was his intent from the get go? To get China to play fair. And
Yeah.
if you go back throughout history, since the 90s, even somebody like Nancy Pelosi has been speaking about how China tariffs them and how we have a free market agreement with them. We don't tariff their product, but they will tariff ours. She, a massive Democrat, have been talking about this since the 90s. Pelosi talked about it. You had shit, what was the name of the other person? I posted about that a couple of days ago. You had Pelosi that spoke about it. You had Obama that spoke about
Mm.
it, how the tariffs were unfair and something needed to change. Yet nobody's had the balls to do anything about it outside of Trump. Love Trump or not, that dude's not scared to put his chip in the table and call bullshit and to say,
Yeah.
you know what? Fuck you. I'm done. I'm done. You don't want to be you don't want to actually play fair? No problem. Here's 125% tariffs. Oh, you're going to put more? No problem. I'll put more too.
Hmm.
It's one of those things that people don't understand that the US needs China right now in the short term because they can't get there's no way to become self-reliant overnight. You can't. But at the
Right.
same
Yeah.
time, China needs the US because it represents they buy 37% of what's produced in China. They are the
Oh,
US is the biggest consumer market in the world, and China has been building their everything that China has right now has been built on the back of the US.
yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
that they have, their army, their economy, the middle class jobs are all based on the US buying American, the US buying China. And
Yeah.
China owns most of the American debt. So no matter what they do, China is screwed because even if they start ditching the stocks from the US economy, from the US stock, they're going to kill themselves because they still need to sell. So you're going to crash the market where most of your goods are being sold into without having a possible replacement. So you're going to shoot yourself in the foot and bleed
Hmm.
out on the side of the street. So no matter what, Trump is not a stupid. Love him, hate him. I think a lot of the things that he does, I agree with. A lot of the things that he does, I'm like, bro, I'm not sure that's the one. That's how I'd approach it. But one thing you gotta give him, he ain't stupid. That dude is
No.
not stupid.
No.
He knows exactly what he's doing, and he is playing the game that he knows China does not have a choice to play, and he fully knows. I guarantee you, behind closed doors, he will admit that he needs China. Right now, you need the Americans need China, but China needs the American too. So he knows that what he's playing, all he's trying to do is get their leader to jump on a plane and come here and negotiate. That's it. That's all
Yep.
he wants.
Hmm.
But yet people don't want to admit to that. And you know the hypocrisy of all of this? Imagine if an Obama or a Biden would have had the balls to do what Trump is doing right now, they would be considered the best fucking president of all time. Everybody on the left would be like, oh, they'd be praising him like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ, right?
Right. Yeah.
Just because can you imagine having the balls to stand up for Americans towards China like that? But because it's Trump and everybody wants to hate Trump no matter what he does, he's going to be hated. Even Republicans are not okay with what he's doing. You
Hmm.
know that he's doing something right if both sides of the equation are like, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, that pretty much tells us that you're bought off by China and you don't want to lose the cash cow.
Yep. Yep.
So if you're pissing off both sides of the equation, I do this on a daily basis with my content. You know you're doing something right, and Trump is doing something right, and he doesn't seem to care because he's not drop. He is not folding at all. He's just like, haha, gotcha, bitch.
Yeah. Here's more high percentage. Yeah.
Oh, here's tariffs on everybody. Just China now.
Yeah. And then it doubled, and then now it went up again today, I think. It's
But he
145.
got 75%. He got 75 countries to come to that
Yeah.
are willing to come to the table. So at the end of the day, he was able to get 75 world countries to show up to want to sit down with him in order to negotiate a deal which was unfair in the first place for the US because most Americans didn't realize that the average countries outside of the US put tariffs on the US. On average, the US is tariffed between 5 to 10%. So call it 7.5% if you want, but that's everywhere. There are tariffs on US goods around the world. Yet the US doesn't really put tariffs on other people's imports into the US. So
Yeah.
Trump is just like, you know what? Let's rectify that. I'm going to make a claim so fucking outrageous that people won't have a choice to sit down with me because we are the biggest consumer market in the world. And if people want to sell their shit here, they want to have a choice to sit down. So
Hmm.
people can hate Trump all they want. In the same fucking week, he's been able to put tariff on China, to get 75 countries to be ready to speak to remove those tariffs so there won't be any reciprocal tariffs anymore. And he did it without destroying the economy.
Yeah.
It's fucking brilliant.
Right.
Like,
It is. It is brilliant.
absolutely brilliant what he's done. But don't
Yeah.
expect the left to give him any credit for it, because
Yeah.
they would just show that all they were waiting for is a guy with balls, and it needed to be Trump because he understands business. This is why he's so
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
He treats it. And I don't know if you saw I shared a video. I can't remember what the name of the guy is, but brilliant video. And the guy was explaining, and this was recorded on Saturday last week, so way before this week. But basically, what the guy was saying is that the tariffs were not meant as tariff only. They were meant to do something that has yet to happen, but I believe that the guy is right. Is in 2025, the American debt, or a large portion of the American debt, needs to be refinanced. Right now, the interest rate, the federal bank's interest rate are high, which is not good if you're trying. Imagine that you're trying to refinance your home, but the interest rates has gone through the roof since the last time you refinance. You're like, you don't want to be there, because that means
Oh.
you're going to refinance for an amount of time that it could be 5 years in Canada. Like you say, you do it for 5 years at a high interest rate. You could be adding so much cost to your regular payment towards your mortgage. But imagine if somebody had a way to lower interest rate by creating a small recession, forcing the
Oh.
hand of the Federal Reserve to drop the interest rate, because that is always what happens when you start seeing a depression. The interest goes down. He gets to refinance the American debt that is $1 trillion of interest. Yearly interest on the debt right now is $1 trillion. That's just the interest. You're not even paying the cap. You're not putting a dent at all in your debt. Just the fucking interest on the debt is $1 trillion a year. Imagine that he found a way through tariffs to create what looks like a small recession. The feds dropped the interest rate. He refinanced the debt at a lower rate, saves the money, and then at the same time, he's able to get countries around the world to renegotiate trade deals with him, all by saying that what he really wanted are tariffs. It's fucking brilliant. If that's what he's doing,
Yeah.
that dude is
Yeah.
a fucking genius. But
Yeah.
nobody's talking about that, right? But if you consider that Trump is a real estate, not a real estate, but a realtor. Like, he owns property. And what's the number one thing you do in property? You buy cheap when the interest rates are low. You buy houses that need work.
Hmm.
You renovate. You get another estimate of the new value of your house or your investment once it's been renovated. You refinance that at a low interest rate, extract the money, buy something else, rinse and repeat. That's all guys like Trump does. And I know guys that owns 80 doors, 100 doors. That's all they did. They started with one, and they did the same thing. Buy cheap, low interest rate, renovate, refinance at a low interest rate, extract your money, buy something else, rinse and repeat. So does it make sense that that's all he's doing? If that's
Yeah.
what he's doing, he's a baller. Like, that dude is
Yeah.
he's fucking with world economy in order to refinance a debt. He's doing the same thing he used to do in real estate, but he's doing it on a world level. It's insane when you think about it. If that's what he's doing, that dude is a baller. I don't know how his
Yeah.
testicles fit in his pants. Like, that is balling on a whole different level, because if he's wrong, he's going to get shot. Like, somebody's going to want to really kill him this time. Like,
Yeah.
really, there's going to be a firing squad waiting for him somewhere.
Right.
So he's really playing a game that every single president since the 70s have not had the balls to play,
Yeah.
and he's doing it while being criticized from both sides, from
Mm.
both the Democrats and the Republican side. It's very interesting what's going on right now. It's
It is.
very, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just fucking cool to watch.
It's so cool. And the way he talks about it too, I don't know if you saw his president's dinner speech. Did you see that?
I nope, nope.
Okay. I just saw a couple clips, but he said that some of the Republicans are coming over and saying, we can help you negotiate tariffs. And he said, the last thing I need are these guys to tell me how to do tariffs. He's like, you had your chance. He's like, this is my game. And yeah, I mean, at the same time, also getting bills passed to lower taxes. And yeah, because he's doing the tips, overtime, and Social Security tax. And then he's also pushing to drop the corporate tax from 22 to 15%, therefore making it less, like bringing jobs back to the US with that too, as well as the
And
tariffs.
add to this is another part that the other guy doesn't speak about, like the guy from the video I was telling you about, that he wants to drop the interest rate to refinance the debt. But
Hmm.
what is the one thing that foreign investors that are trying to build businesses in a country want? Low interest rate, because they're going to need to come here, take
Yeah.
massive loans in order to build the infrastructure that they need, call it manufacturing for sake of argument. So
Huh.
by dropping the interest rate, not only is he saving money on the debt, on the interest of the debt, but he's making it more appealing for outside manufacturing jobs to come back to the US, because borrowing American money will be cheaper. It's
Yeah.
fucking brilliant. When you back away and
Yeah.
remove how you feel about Trump and don't make it emotional, just look at it from a logical standpoint, and you back away and you see, man, what could low interest rate do for the US right now, while removing tariffs
Yep.
throughout the world, while making it fairer to do business with China? Because people don't understand that China has massive tariffs on American goods. Like, even as a Canadian, do you know that some of our canola oil, which we're a massive producer of, and we export it to, it's 100% tariffs on our
Whoa.
stuff in Canada. Yeah, so this is the thing that most people don't know about. So China is renowned to put tariffs on other people's goods because they want Chinese to buy Chinese. What an interesting concept, right?
Yeah.
Hey, how about you buy your own products instead of financing other people's? But it's pretty interesting that China has made their economy based on the Americans buying their goods while preventing Americans from selling their goods in their country.
Yeah. That's
So
something Trump had mentioned before, I think it was on an old interview he had, and
it
he
was on
said,
Oprah, and like
was it Oprah?
then
Yeah.
I recognize the style. I know exactly the interview you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yes,
Yeah. I think he's talking about Japan, I think, when he was saying that Japan doesn't allow us to sell our cars over there, but they can sell all of their cars here. He said it destroyed Detroit, like the American auto
Japanese
industry.
make great cars. Like it or not, Honda makes great cars.
They
Nissan, I'm a big
do.
fan. I've owned a few Nissans. They never break. They're fucking awesome. I
Yeah,
have an American truck right now. I have a Ford, but all to say that Japanese do know how to make cars. They
they
make really
do.
high quality cars.
Yeah. I think, yeah, like it'd be interesting to see if the playing field evened out in the auto industry to see if other countries would buy more American cars or if American cars could get better because now we can actually sell to a larger market. I think what I'm really looking forward to is to see if the EPA can get slashed a bit and so we can take off the California standards on cars. That'd be big. But if we did that, I feel like we could have some really cool stuff come back into the market.
And if you consider that, man, there's so much that happened over the past 11 weeks, it's hard to keep track. But
Yeah.
if you consider that Trump is trying to make a deal with Ukraine right now in order for them to
Oh,
repay the 170-ish billion dollars that the US has giving them over the past few years by signing a mineral deal, Do you know that the Ukraine has the third largest deposit of lithium in the world, and the two first ones are controlled by China? So
Oh,
when you start
makes
understanding what
sense.
Trump is
Yeah.
trying to do, so can you imagine signing it's estimated above $2 trillion deal, that mineral deal that he's trying to sign with the Ukraine, where Ukraine keeps half of the profit, the Americans keep the other half to somehow repay for the money that they gave them during time of war. So not only are we going to sign a treaty between, we're going to make sure you sign a treaty before between Russia and the Ukraine so that peace can finally happen over there. We're going to pay us back by giving us trillions of dollars worth of your minerals so that they can start challenging China with lithium produced in the US, so they will no longer need lithium coming
Mm,
from other countries, China. Instead, they can start, they harvest it in the Ukraine, send it to the US, process it there, start building lithium technology cars, batteries, right in America without having to be dependent on China. It
mm.
is fucking brilliant when you start
That is
looking at all
brilliant.
those little moves, but most people don't put it together.
No,
Like, I
yeah.
talk about this stuff every day, but I don't get a chance to put it all, like the conversation we're having right now. But once you start looking at all the moves, it's hard to keep track. He does
Yeah.
so much that it's hard for me to imagine that this is only 11 weeks old, like
I
11 or
know.
12 weeks old. I feel that he's been in power for fucking 5 years now, or 10 years, however
Yeah.
long, because that's all we talk about. I run a 2.5 hour podcast every day, Monday to Friday. That's all it seems we've been talking about is what Trump's doing. What is he
Yeah.
doing right now? What is he doing today? How did he piss off people today? Like, that should be the name
Yeah.
of our show. How has Trump pissed off people today? That should be the name of our show, right? So,
That'd be hilarious. Yeah.
but it's funny to see everything that he's put together and step away. Just step back and start looking at all those pieces fit together. And I don't claim to know what he's doing, because obviously I don't. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not that smart of a guy. I just know how to do research. I'm a critical thinker that does a shit ton of research. So I'm a very big generalist, but
Hmm.
I'm not behind the scene. I don't know what the end goal is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if the end goal is to put a screw on China and remove, or at least try to reduce American dependency on China, all the moves that he's doing, even though they don't seem connected at all seem to fit once you assume that that's the goal. What is
Yeah.
the goal? Lower interest rate and go at war with China without raising a gun. How do we do that?
Mm,
And it seems like everything he's doing is that, to remove the
yeah.
dependency on China. It's very clever. If that's what he's doing, he's smart. And it's probably way more, it's probably way cooler than I think. I just don't know. I'm not behind the scenes, so I can only
Right.
assume. But
Yeah.
what he's doing is probably so much greater than what I'm thinking. But it's interesting, man. It's an interesting time, that's for sure.
Something else I've noticed the strategy more and more from him is he'll like do something so like one side of the aisle starts talking a lot about it, so he'll like say, okay, we're taking away the Department of Education. And then the left is like, kids aren't going to go to school anymore. The Republicans are like, oh, that's a good idea. We need to bring it back to the states. And everyone's talking about that, and he gets another deal passed, and he's like, all right, tariffs are coming in. And so it's like people are like, whoa, like what's he going on? And so like they can never like spend too much time criticizing each thing he's doing. They're just like switching back and forth, and he's just drawing the camera right where he wants it every time. And he knows
He's a
how the
social media troll. He's a
he
troll.
is he is a troll.
He's
Yeah.
That's how my co-host, because I record a podcast with a lefty as a conservative every day, and we talk about
Oh,
politics from the left perspective and the right's perspective, and he calls him a master troll, and he's 100% right. He is a
yeah.
master troll. Hey, look how ridiculous this is. He's signing deal left, right, and center in the back end. It's
Yep.
brilliant.
It's so
Again,
brilliant.
love him, hate him, don't underestimate him.
Don't, yeah,
Don't.
that's like, mhm.
Don't think he's an idiot, because the only idiot in that story is you. If you think Trump is an idiot, you're the idiot, my friend. It ain't him. It ain't him. But I understand
Like,
why people don't like him. I get it. Believe me, I get it. I get it. I get it why you don't like him. I get it. But he ain't stupid. Don't underestimate him thinking he's stupid.
no. Well, and like Patrick Bet David said, he calls Trump the trifecta because he won in business, won in media, and now won in politics. So he's like a guy that's as good as that, like does all three of those, like really well to be the best in each of them. He says you have to be an exceptionally good person at understanding how things work. So,
I I would be curious to see during the 4 years, so between 2020-ish, 2021 and 2025 when he wasn't president, I'm ready to bet that he was still the most talked man on the planet. And he wasn't even
yeah,
president. So he's been the most talked individual for literally 9 years straight now,
yeah, yeah,
worldwide. I'd be ready.
yeah.
I don't, I'm talking out of my
I,
ass right now. But if I had to put money on this, I'd be
I,
ready to bet that he's been the most spoken about individual in the world. And by the time his presidency's done, add another 4 years to that. So he'll be,
yeah,
for the past 13 years, he will be the most spoken about individual in the world. Imagine how brilliant the strategy is. You're always in the media. You're always in the media.
always.
You're in the mainstream media. They're talking about you. On social media, they're talking about you. Worldwide, they're talking about you. Wherever you turn, whatever is trending every day, there's at least one out of the top five topics that's Trump. Something Trump's done, something that he's doing, a retaliation to something that he's done. At least, and I would argue that it's probably top three, but let's say top five of everything that's trending. Doesn't matter that it's on next Instagram, fucking Google trend, whatever's trending, top five is at least one of them out of the top five, if not multiple ones, or is something that Trump's working on.
Yeah.
It's
I think,
brilliant. It's absolutely
yeah,
brilliant what he's doing. But can you be surprised considering that he was in the public eye forever? Everybody knows you're fired. Everybody knows where that comes from because he fired people for a living.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so he's a master troll.
yeah,
Whatever you try to make fun of him, he'll just invent a word like panicking to say
yeah,
to describe. Like it's brilliant. Like
yeah,
he started calling Justin Trudeau governor of Canada
yeah,
just because he's talking about the 51st state. Have you seen how that disappears? He's not talking about this anymore because he's just a master troll. While
yeah,
people were concentrating on, oh, the 51 state, oh, I'm going to try to make a deal with Ukraine and Russia and the war.
yeah,
I don't even
yeah.
know how the fuck that guy sleeps. Does he sleep or is he always like, is he a robot? Is he
Uh,
real? Like, how the
well,
fuck is he always pushing those
doing stuff.
buttons? It seemed like, bro, like, what the fuck's going on? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But,
Well, did you
bro,
see?
I love it.
Well,
Love it.
did you hear on the night of the election, he had been awake for 72 hours?
I believe it.
Did you
I
hear that?
absolutely believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
he
Um,
average sleeps 4 hours a night, is what I've heard.
oh, and again, I would 100% believe that. And whoever's listening to this, I would put you to or I would recommend that you go Google a video. Dana White speaks about Donald Trump. You're probably going to be able to find it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's basically Dana White. Remember when just after he got shot? Like I believe that this is where the video's from. When you and I spoke, it was not long after he got shot in Pennsylvania, and he gave him a call. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you this?" Because I don't know if you remember, but literally a couple of days after, he appeared at a UFC show. He went
Yeah.
on to the UFC and he's like, people are going fucking crazy. So instead of being hiding somewhere in a hospital room, fucking scared out of his mind, motherfuckers bawling this shit in front of the UFC is like, boop, boop, and he's getting the king treatment, right? He's coming out. People are just, woo, because UFC fans are normally more on the right spectrum of things. But
Mhm.
Dana White explained that he gave him a call after that, and he's like, I have never seen an individual so calm under pressure. That dude is just like on to the next thing, no problem. How you doing? And Dana White, we're talking about a guy that took a business that was, I think, 20 or 50 million in the hole. And
Mhm.
I would argue that it's probably above a billion now. Like he took the UFC from
Yeah.
20 to 50 million in the hole with the Fertila brothers, and they turned it into a fucking $1 billion empire. So that guy knows what stress is.
Yeah.
Like he literally, his job for the past 30 years has been to sanction a cockfighting sport as they described it when I first started watching it in the mid 90s, and sanctioning it in the US, in Canada, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa. It's been the Middle East. It's been sanctioned everywhere because a bald headed fuck out of the US with a big fucking ID just decided to do it. So if that guy tells me that a guy like Trump impresses him, bro,
Yeah.
bro,
Yeah.
like, but this is what's amazing about this guy. Again, it sounds like I'm a big fan of Trump, and I'm not. That's the worst part. Is just, but I can give credit where credit is due,
Mhm.
and he is just so ballsy. I don't like the attitude. I don't like the fact that he's pity. Like I don't like that you can just say that he has small hands and you'll win an argument with him on a debate because he can't keep to the topic without getting insulted by crowd sizes or hand sizes. Like I think JD Vance is a way better debater than Trump is, but at the same time, Trump is so ballsy in what he does that you have to give him respect for this.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
appreciate the amount of balls that that guy has. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
It is. Yeah, and I mean like I think that's part of like why he draws so many people to him because he seems relatable too. Like the way he talks to people is like he's like you know that his thoughts are like up here like the way he writes like in his books and he texts and things are like he's he's pretty well worded with like how he wants to describe things and then you hear him speak and he speaks a very simple way and this is interesting because do you follow Alex Hormozy?
I know who he is. I'm not the biggest fan. I can respect the work that he does, but
Okay.
um, he's definitely a business guy, an extremely
Yeah.
successful business guy, right?
He was saying that they found that all presidents win that use the lowest grade level of speaking. And so it's like
Repeat
with
that again. Repeat that again.
he said that all presidents win that use the lowest grade level of language.
In order to speak to their base,
Yeah. So Trump when he doesn't speak the way he writes. He speaks in a very simple way of like using simple
okay.
words, repeats himself. So everyone gets his message. You know, it's like build the wall. You know, Canada's the
He's
51st
very
state.
catchy.
Very
He's very
catchy.
catchy.
He uses like simple, big words, and people latch onto that. And then he's like using everything else he knows to like get the deal done. But it's like you have all these quotes that you can think of with Trump. It's like, the only thing you can really remember from Obama is like his voice. You don't really remember the things he said. Or Pelosi, like, you're just like, all these Democrats are just like, they say a lot of words, but nothing memorable. Where I think Trump, when he does something, it's very memorable and you can keep repeating it because he like goes at the main direct point, I think.
And you can push it even further than that. You can look at the way even the tone that he uses when
Yeah.
he's speaking. Because if you're trying to convince someone or you're trying to get somebody to pay attention to what you're saying, you lower your speech, the speed of your speech by 30%. See what I'm doing right now?
Oh, yeah.
I've been for the past minute, I lowered the tempo of my speech. And what did you do? You started leaning into your microphone. So you're like, I'm connecting. I know that you're paying attention to what I'm saying because now I'm just speaking normally, right?
Hmm.
But if I'm trying to convince you of something, I will always lower the tempo because I'm being serious right now. I need you to pay attention. I'm it's hypnotic. Trump is very good at doing that. If you look at great
Hmm.
politicians like Bill Clinton, for example, like forget the policies, forget what he. I don't care that you like the guy or not. I've seen this guy live in a small event back in the days. He's brilliant in the
Hmm.
way that he speaks. He's so relaxed. his words are so controlled. The tempo of his voice is hypnotic. He has a cool voice. He knows how to address people to make them feel good about themselves. Obama did the same thing. Great orator. Great orator. I dislike his policies. I do not like the guy, but I will give him credit that he knew how to speak to people. But you look at a Trump, he's more vulgar, he's
Hmm.
more simple in the way that he speaks, but at the same time, he uses the same trick as they do. Listen to him when he's serious. He lowers the tempo of his speech, but he uses better catchy phrases. To me, he's wittier. He's a very
Yeah,
witty guy.
he's very witty.
He comes up with some outrageous fucking comebacks. You're like, what the fuck are you even talking about? So he uses the same techniques as an Obama and a Bill Clinton that were great orators, but Trump is not by definition a great orator.
Hmm.
Like he is annoying to listen to, but he's very hypnotic and
Yeah,
he knows his audience. He does
yeah,
not sound like a politician. That's why they say that he's like the most blue collar white collar. Like
yeah,
he's the white collar that appeals to blue collars because
yeah.
he sounds just like a regular dude. He's not trying to sound pompous like an
Right,
Obama or a Bill Clinton. He's just using the same words as you and I would use on a daily basis, but uses the same tactics of neurolinguistic programming of NLP that a Obama or a Bill Clinton would use. So it's brilliant when you deconstruct what he's doing.
hmm.
He's not an idiot. Again,
No,
love him,
no,
hate him. You got to respect him. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Don't underestimate a guy like him. They're
yeah,
fucking dangerous. So I'm
yeah,
hoping that he does have the American interests at heart, that he's not a globalist, that he's not trying to do something behind the scene that we don't understand, that he doesn't work for the WHO or the WEF. I hope. I don't know. But what he's doing right now, bro, ballsy as fuck. Ballsy as fuck, and it's enjoyable.
yeah. Well, yeah, very. I feel like he's not from all his actions. I wouldn't say he's. I'd say from all his actions, he's putting it to the globalists because the WHO just came out and said they're hurting really bad now with the U.S. pulling out. The WEF, Klaus Schwab just resigned.
Yeah, but
Uh,
if your goal is to make it look that you're not part of them, that's exactly what's going on too.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I have my little thin foil hat that I
Oh,
wear every now and then. That's right there.
that's
But
awesome.
it's because we use it in our podcast all the time. But if there's no way for us to know what the end goal is, we're not privy
Yeah,
to that information. We don't know.
yeah,
But having the WHO say that they're hurting, the WAF, you have Schwab that's stepping away, could be exactly what you need to tell us in order to be convinced that Trump's not doing it. And I'm not saying that he's doing it behind the scene. That's not what I'm saying. All
right,
I'm
right.
saying is I'm hoping that he
Yeah,
does have the American interests at heart because he's an American. And a lot of the stuff that he's talking about, just like the tariffs, or just like the inequalities in trade agreements that they have between the two countries, he's been talking about it since the 90s. It's nothing new.
yeah,
He didn't come up with this shit. Like the Democrats were talking about this at the same time he started talking about it as just a real estate developer. So I want to believe that he is a good. I don't say good man because he's flawed like everybody else. He ain't. He's not Jesus Christ, right? He ain't perfect. He's gonna make mistakes, no doubt about it. He's not a savior. He's not here to save us,
right.
but he's still a man. But I'm hoping that his interests are with the Americans. And even as a Canadian, where we're blaming him for all of our problems, even though our economy has been destroyed for the past 10 years, we're still blaming him for being in power for 11 weeks. I still see the value in what he's doing. I'm just hoping his interests are Americans in the first place because I, I would understand why he's doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I got a feeling he is. Is something I've noticed is that people that aren't genuine don't smile very much. And they don't make many jokes. And so one of the things that kind of makes me at ease is that he's able to laugh and talk about things in a very playful way. Because usually bad guys don't like to do that very much. They take
It's funny.
themselves too seriously.
It's funny you say that because you know who Mark Carney is, right? The Prime Minister of Canada right now.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I was just talking about, I think it was this week or last week, I was just saying exactly the opposite of what you just said, saying that he never
Oh,
laughs, that I don't trust somebody that doesn't laugh. And the only time he laughed is when somebody in the crowd asked him how many kids he's raped with Epstein. Because he has our prime minister right now has direct connection to Epstein and Maxwell.
uh,
So one guy at his, but that is the only time that I've seen him actually smile and look at his people to escort the guy, but he still smiled. When he's giving speeches about everyday life, he doesn't smile. So
mm,
just like you're saying, I dislike it. You can this again, this is something I recommend people to do when you're listening to someone that you like or dislike in order to understand why, re-listen to their speech on mute and just stop listening to what they're saying, but just look at the
oh,
mannerism, look at the way they
yeah,
move, look at the way they are. Trump, a lot of times, if he's moving, have you noticed he's going to start being sideways? He's like this. He's like, it's like relax. He's talking to people. Like he will be on the podium and he twisted around and he's like, yep, 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 yep. And he's talking and he keeps on moving. He's making a lot of moves that are extremely likable without
yeah,
you realizing that it's likable. Just like I'm a fan of
right.
JD Vance. You know
Mm-hmm.
why? Because JD Vance does not cross his legs when he talks. It's very effeminate for a man to be
Yeah,
sitting cross-legged as a leader. To me, that is a very feminine trait to do. But most people that are very masculine might not realize why they dislike a guy like Justin Trudeau because he's very effeminate, and that's the
mm-hmm.
type of behaviors that he had for years. But then you look at a JD Vance and he's sitting, legs are open, puts his
Yeah,
elbows on his knees, and he leans forward. He's
yeah,
trying to connect with you on he's not trying to sit down backwards with his leg crossed away from you.
mm-hmm.
He's trying to build the distance and just, hey, bro, I got you, man. Right there
Mm-hmm.
for you. And see, this is, but unless you listen to people without the volume on and you just look at the mannerisms, you won't understand that. But Trump's very good at that. JD Vance is very good at that. I don't know who's fucking training JD Vance right now, but the coach that he has is brilliant because you can, if you look back at his speeches from 6 months ago to now, I don't know who the fuck is working with him in the background, but high five, you're doing a fucking phenomenal job. He's going to be a
Yeah,
great president in 3.5 years. It's
yeah.
your next president. JD Vance is your next president. No
I think
questions
he's
about
got
it.
the highest, yeah, the highest chance for
Oh,
sure.
Trump is setting him up right now. He's
Yeah,
doing all the tough shit in order for JD Vance to show up in 3.5 years from now and be the common sense guy somewhere in the middle because all the dirty work is going to be done and he's going to be able to appeal to the Democrat that for the liberal people that left the Democrat Party and voted for Trump. He'll be able to sustain their votes because the Democrats won't have they're not yet realizing that they're in trouble. The Democrats right now are
yeah,
not realizing that they have to clean house. And unless they push a guy like Featherman, which is a lefty, but he has more common sense than 99% of Democrats right now, if they continue talking about Kamala Harris representing them or Gavin Newsom representing them, that means that they have no chances of winning in 2028 because it's only going to get worse. It's
yeah,
if you look at long-term politics right now for the US, it's awesome. You guys are going to be, unless something really bad happens, where JD Vance could become president if something happens to Trump, which I'm not saying I want Trump to die. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying, but JD Vance is a fuck as good as it gets for a Republican replacement. So
mm-hmm.
I think you guys are in a good spot,
Yeah, I'm very
unlike the last few years.
boy, I was so the night of the election, I was like, oh, well, I went and prayed for a long time, and then I was just back here just watching the results, and I was like feeling sick, just worrying about like
Yeah.
what will happen if Harris. I was expecting Harris to win. I was like, they're gonna steal it again, and I was just
Hmm.
thinking like, well, how do we keep everyone safe? All my friends are in these big cities, and then once Pennsylvania flipped, I was like, oh my
They're done.
goodness. I
It's a
was
done
like,
deal.
what? So I am so grateful that Trump's in, and not just for my sake, but I just really appreciate that all of the people that were having it really hard now have hope again that there's some relief. Like, we're sending the illegals back. Um, it's becoming more affordable to live. People are thinking of having families again. It's like for a while it was getting pretty stark there. People were like, we don't know if we're gonna survive this, but
And it's okay to be non woke.
yeah.
It's okay to work for a company while being non woke. This
Mm-hmm.
is the beauty. If you look, because one of the things I that's underestimated is how politics influences culture.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
remember back in November when Trump was elected, didn't become president until January, but he was still selected in November as your next president. You could start seeing, Trump has always danced like this. Like there's nothing new about this. He's been doing it for years. That guy can't fucking, he is the whitest of white guys. There's no blackness in him. He can't dance to save his life, right? Let's agree on this. He doesn't need to because he's filthy fucking rich. But the point is that he's been dancing like this for years. Yet during his first presidency, you did not see people copy his style. That would have been suicide. It didn't matter that you played in the NFL, the NBA, that you were in the UFC, that you were in business. It did not matter. You could not duplicate Trump because we were still very woke in the US.
Very,
We were
yeah.
still under Obama, right? The Obama mentality that he started with all the wokeness, because he's really the one that pushed it stuff,
Mm-hmm.
carried on during his first mandate, and he didn't really know how to go at it. That's why the Trump of 2016 and the Trump of 2025 are two different entities completely, because he's coming in knowing he's learned the first 4 years. He learned 4 years of being not in the president's seat when he should have been. So he's playing this game very, very smart, but it carried on through the Biden administration. The wokeness
Mm-hmm.
just continued, continued, continued. And that's
Yeah.
why I don't think that Trump won. I think that Kamala Harris lost. A
Mm.
lot of people voted for Trump because they're like lesser of two evils. I don't want, we cannot reward a DI hire like Kamala Harris by giving her the president job when she hasn't done shit as a VP. Nothing. So I think that he won the election because a lot of leftists, a lot of Democrats could not, in good conscience, vote for Kamala Harris, so they voted for Trump. Obviously, he won because there's a lot of Republican support. That's not what I'm talking about. But the people that really shifted or the people that felt left out by the Democrat Party, they voted for Trump. But then if you go back to November, he wasn't even president yet, and you started seeing people in the NFL
Yeah.
doing a touchdown, and they're just like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh." You get people in the UFC, fucking what's his name, Jones, won the belt. Trump was
Yeah.
in the arena. He started dancing like this, and he went to Trump to give him his belt. He wasn't even president yet, but the
Yeah.
culture already started to change. It was already okay to not be woke. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting. This is the part I absolutely love about what's going on in the US right now is you're seeing a culture change that
Mm-hmm.
is directly correlated to the politics because it is now okay. Trump is making it okay not to be woke. It is already changing culture. It's insane. It's absolutely beautiful to see what's
Yeah.
going on right now. We got to be careful that it doesn't swing too much right where you become authoritarian just like the left was since Obama. Like you don't want the right to start censoring the left because they don't agree with them. Because the left
Right.
had the power for so long, they got to censor people like me that are conservative in their values. But we need to be careful that we stay somewhere in the middle, that we don't become the left because there's such a thing as woke right.
Mm.
You can censor people from the left if you're the right because it's culturally accessible, it's culturally accessible, acceptable
Yeah.
now. So you got to be
Right.
careful. Guys like us need to be careful that we keep the right honest and we keep it somewhere in the middle where the left and the right can disagree, just like I do every day on my show with my co-host. But we're capable of discussing from two different point of view, yet we realize most of the time that we actually agree that there's a problem. We disagree on how to fix it, but we mostly agree that there is a problem that needs to be addressed. How should we address it? This is always where we have our discussions, but we haven't gone a lot of in a lot of situations where we disagreed that there was a problem. And this is the beautiful thing now that we're starting to see, we want to have those conversations, right?
Hmm.
The right needs the left needs the right. They need to be able to talk to each other so that they can actually change the things that need to be changed, and you can vote appropriately. So hopefully we need to be careful not to go too far to the right, is my point. You don't want to start censoring the left because you have the power to do so. You need to, free speech is about protecting the speech that you don't agree with.
Right. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's on point where we don't want to use their tactics because now we have the upper hand. Then we're
100%.
just as bad as them. We have to always maintain the high moral ground of doing what's right. And yeah, because it's like the best way to ostracize someone is to call them wrong and then like keep them from being able to talk to you. So it's like
Mhm.
we can't as like conservatives say, "Oh, because you're wrong and you lost the election." It's like you don't have a place to talk. It's like, well, we want to talk with you. Just stop blowing up cars and stop trying to kill babies and stop trying to cause all these problems. Like, just be a good human. That's all we want. It's like that's what we all want. It's just a place where good things can happen. That's the freedom we want. So yeah, yeah, we can't play at their level.
Or else you're no better than them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is why it's so important to understand where your morals and values come from. And
Mm-hmm.
this is the biggest problem that I have with the left, is that a lot of their value system does not come from God. It
No.
comes from them thinking that they know better, yet history shows us that we don't. Human
Right.
beings are not born with moral values. We can be molded and changed to whatever we want. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important that your value system is based on something that is greater than yourself. And this I believe is the biggest problem with the left, is that most of them are atheists, or they don't believe in God flat out, or their religion is science. Like they will,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot question science because the science has been settled, yet the whole point of science is that it's never settled. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing with science, it's trying to prove itself wrong. That's what the scientific method
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Here's my theory, let's put it to the test and have other scientists try to disprove me. And when they can't disprove me, we found something interesting. We found something good. This is what science is. It's about debating your own people to know, am I
Mm-hmm.
right here? Am I wrong? If I'm wrong,
Yeah.
prove me wrong, please. Because this is how science has evolved. But now
Yeah.
we live in a world that the left does not allow us to question science because the science has been settled. The science is never
Yeah.
settled.
That's what they
As
keep
soon as,
saying.
of course, but that's dogma. They're going to
Yeah.
turn around and tell me that as a Christian, I'm dogmatic because I'm not allowed to question. Yet you tell me all the time not to question science because the
Mm-hmm.
science has been settled. So we got to be careful where we put our value system in,
Right.
because if you don't respect values, or if you don't build your value system on, or your moral system on values that do not come from you, that come from something greater, you can always change them based on your emotions. And this is why being a Christian is so fucking hard, but it's
Mm-hmm.
so easy at the same time. Why do you think they want you to surrender to Christ?
Mm-hmm.
Because you accept that morality does not come from you, but it comes from something greater than yourself. So you need to surrender to this, because this is the hardest thing you'll ever do. but yet it's the simplest thing you'll ever do because now you have a moral system that you can judge yourself by. I'll never be perfect. I'll never be like Christ. Are you kidding me? I ain't fucking perfect. My wife can attest to that right now. She'll tell you right now that I'm not perfect. And but yet, if I keep on comparing myself to somebody that was perfect, I will never be wrong because I always try to be more like him. Why? Because his values are the values that I want. There's a good reason why most immigrants want to either end up in Canada or the US because our value system was based on Judeo Christian values. They were
Yeah.
based on the Ten Commandments.
Hmm.
That's freedom right there. You have the choice to mess up as much as you want. But if
Hmm.
you don't, try to live your life in this parameter. Those are the parameters, values, morals you need to respect to be closer to your God. There's a good reason why Marxists and the left always goes after God for the first thing they go after is God. Remove the
Yeah.
connection to the higher power,
Yeah.
replace it by Big Brother, replace it by the government. So
Hmm.
all I'm saying is that we need to be careful not to do the same on the right because there's
Exactly. Yeah.
nothing. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative with a small c. I'm a Christian conservative. I believe in the Bible. I believe in Christianity.
Yeah.
That makes me conservative by default.
Uh-huh.
Like I can't be a progressive
Yeah.
if I believe in something that was written 2,000 years ago. That kind of goes against the value system, right?
Mhm.
So it's just we just need to keep that in mind, and that's my biggest gripe with Trump. If we look at Trump, he's not a Christian, he's not an anti-abortionist either. Like he's not a real Republican. Trump is somewhere in the middle, and he only became a Republican because he wouldn't have never been able to run as a Democrat with the values that he has. And he said that from the 90s. Like, if I ever run for president, I will run as a Republican. He is a very smart guy because he knew what you needed to say in order to become a Democrat. So I think this is where we need to be careful because he can take it all the way to the right. Not saying that he will, but he could potentially use the same tools the left used against the right, but using
Yeah.
it from another perspective to censor other people that don't agree with him. This is why we need to be careful as conservative. We haven't won the battle yet. We only won the first few rounds after getting punched in the face and kicked and elbowed for a while. So we need to
Yeah.
make sure it stays somewhere in the middle and we keep our value system based on something greater than ourselves so that if it ever shifts too far to the right, we can call out the right just the way we called out the left because our value system is not in politics, it is not in men, it is in something greater than us all.
Hmm. Yeah. No, that's honestly the well, I feel like the biggest downfall of every person has always been complacency. So it's like you have to keep reviewing and reflecting on your own actions as like every person, but then it's like bigger as like conservatives and Republicans in general. Like we have to make sure that our standards are much higher and they follow what Christ says to do, not just what seems most convenient at hand to just keep winning because we're on the right side. It's like we're not really winning if we're doing it the wrong way. So,
That's why I'll never endorse a party. I will speak for or against. I will praise somebody, whoever their politics is, if he's right. I will praise somebody, I will talk against that same person if he's wrong. I don't
mhm,
matter to me. At the end of the day, I don't represent the party. I don't endorse parties
right.
either. I endorse Christ. What would
Hmm.
Christ do is a question I ask myself every single fucking day of my life.
Yeah.
What would he do? And if it doesn't fall in line with a party, guess what? I'm still going to do it because
Yeah.
I don't represent parties. I represent Christ. There's only
Exactly.
one person I'm going to need to explain myself to when I die. It ain't fucking Trump. It ain't Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
It's Christ.
Yep. Hmm.
That's it. That's my whole barometer for everything is set in him, not in, I have faith in God, not men.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we can't have faith in men. There's not much there to have faith in.
Look at me. I'll
Yeah.
be the first one to tell you that I shouldn't, I don't even agree with everything that I said 6 months ago. How the fuck
Same.
do I put faith in myself when I know to be wrong.
Right. Yeah. No,
It's an
it's
interesting concept when you put it
it
that way.
is. It is. Yeah.
I can try to have faith in myself, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be proved wrong every time because I
Mhm.
am wrong and I'm a sinner. And if there, there's three things I say all the time. There's three realities in life. I'll be wrong again, as in I will sin again. I will one day die. And when I do, I will meet my maker.
Mhm.
Those are the three reality that I have to live by. Those are the three truth that I have to live by. That's it. There's life is very simple when you think about it. I'll fuck
Mhm.
up again. One day I'll die and I'm going to meet my maker. So I'm going to have to probably explain myself because a lot of the actions that I've taken as a sinner were wrong. So am I prepared for this? That's it. Those are the three truths of life.
It's a good perspective to have. I mean, a lot of saints had that. They had like the skull on their desk. Remember death, memento mori. It's one of the old sayings. But
But you have to
yeah,
remember that there's and I'm older, right? I'm 43 years old, so I know that by definition, even if I would live to be, I think the average North Americans live around 78 years old. Like we can argue on a few years there. Let's say 80 for the sake of argument. That means that I'm more than halfway there. I'm 43. That means I only have another 37 years to go. How many of those will be in good health? Because
hmm,
most of the people they don't die in super good health, right? They've been
yeah,
sick for a while before they die.
hmm,
So this is a strange reminder. This is a reminder that life is a lot shorter than we think. I have a, I've always think of I like golf. I'm a big golf fan.
yeah,
So if you've ever played golf, there's 9 holes, right? It's 18 holes, but often the first nine goes away from the clubhouse. There's a smaller clubhouse there where you can pick up drinks, eat, and then you walk your way back to the clubhouse. So I always think about it as in I'm on the back nine. I'm coming back to the clubhouse. I'm going to die soon. I have
oh,
lived longer. I've walked longer than there is left for me to walk.
mm,
So my maker created me at the clubhouse. Now I'm going back to my maker.
mm. That's a good perspective. Yeah.
Fuck, I don't even think I've ever spoken about this on a podcast before. That's normally in my head. Like I don't think I've ever explained this one. I don't think I've ever talked about this one, and I've recorded 5, 6, 700 podcasts. So I don't know.
Mm,
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
that is
that's cool.
interesting.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
I was curious what you thought of Canada. Like, because I know I've seen your posts about the new guy
Mhm.
and what you think about it, and you'd mentioned that the runner-up, Pierre, is that his name?
Pierre Poliev, yep.
Just isn't marketing himself enough.
Well, he's not a real conservative.
Oh,
So
oh, he's
this is the
just
thing, right? This is what I talk about, and I get a lot of heat from the conservative people. And when I say, let me differentiate conservatives, so there is conservative with a capital C, that is the party, like the Conservative Party of Canada. And then you have guys like me that are conservative, small c, as in I'm just somebody with traditional values. The
right.
reason I bring that up is in Canada, we don't have a party that is equivalent to Republicans. All of our
Uh,
parties are leftists
uh,
and very leftist. Like we have five main parties in Canada,
mhm.
and all of them outside of one small party are all on the left spectrum. And the conservative with a capital C, where Pierre Poliev represents, is a leftist. He is just a leftist on, if you look at the three spectrum, right? You have your left, he's at the edge of the left. He's right of center of the left, but he's still a leftist. Imagine a
Uh,
Democrat with a sense of economy, like he's fiscally responsible. That is what he is. Like if Pierre Poliev was in the US, he'd be a Democrat. He's not a
uh,
Christian. He doesn't talk against abortion.
mm,
Running on gun, like gun rights, is not his platform. Free speech is not his platform. So he is a very Democrat type of individual. But because in Canada we're so far left, everything is left. Like we have a guy that was Maxime Bernier that was on Patrick Bet David's podcast a couple of weeks ago. We consider him far right in Canada. He's a libertarian. He literally, his politics are somewhere in the middle. I'm right of him, and people are calling him far right. I'm like, bro, if you knew what I stand for, you think I'm the Antichrist, right? I'm so far right. I'm right of Maxime Bernier, and he's considered far right, but yet I'm not as right as a Republican in the US. So that shows you that's our spectrum, right? We play everything in the left. So um topics like abortion, topics like gun rights, topics like Christianity, topics like God are not even topics that we approach in Canada because we're so far left that it's not going to move the needle. We need to try to move the needle on fiscal responsibilities after 10 years of a liberal government that's been destroying our economy. So this is the biggest thing that they have right now. But unfortunately, Pierre Poliev is not a strong leader. He's not a ballsy leader. He's not somebody that's gonna stand up for things. Like he doesn't even have the balls to stand up to and say that there's only two genders. Like
Oh
he's
boy.
been asked that question a couple of weeks ago, and instead of saying to the reporter, there are only two genders, and if elected prime minister, I will make sure that those are the only two options that can be on a passport is male, female. Anything else is a psychological problem that needs to be addressed. It's a mental disorder that needs to be addressed. You know what he answered the reporter when he was asked what how many genders there are? There's like, I only know of two, but if you know of more, I'm ready to listen. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but he politicked his way instead of answering a fucking question straight up. Now, some content creators in Canada, and I was on a podcast of one of the biggest content creators in Canada, and we had that discussion just 2 days ago. And I had made a post about this video that I just talked about in the way that he answered, saying, you're not a strong leader if you can't fucking say it out loud. If you need to politic your way into the answer instead of simply saying, there's two genders, next fucking question, you're not a strong leader because you don't stand for anything. You don't have the balls to say
Yeah.
what you believe. Because I've been told that he does believe that in real life. Like I
Mm.
know people that are part of his campaign and they're telling me behind the scene that you need to stop talking against Pierre Poliev because he's not approaching those subjects right now because he doesn't want to lose the election. So you're basically confirming that he's a pussy. He doesn't have the
Yeah.
balls to fucking stand up for something. So why would I vote for a guy that I wouldn't follow in battle? I'm not. I'm not going to vote for
Yeah.
you. If I
No.
don't think you're a good leader, screw you. I'm not voting for you. I'd much rather not vote for anybody because nobody represents my values than vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm not doing this anymore. Because at the end of the day, I'm voting for one guy and he's upstairs.
Yeah.
He ain't men. If this is happening, that's part of his plan. And I don't claim to understand what the plan is. I'm playing checkers. He's playing chess. So I don't
Hmm.
understand what the game we're playing. I can just do the best I can. That's it. But
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying, right? We have a war right now between two political parties that are so far left that they both sound the same. There's not a lot of difference between
Um,
what the liberals are saying, which are supposed to be the equivalent of your Democrats, and the conservative with a big C that are supposed to be the equivalent of your Republican. There's almost no difference between the two. So they keep on the liberals keep stealing the ideas of the conservative big C and making them their own. That shows you how leftist the conservatives are. Imagine if the Republican were stealing or the Democrats were stealing ideas from the Republican Party. It doesn't happen because there is a difference in politics, at least what they tell us behind the scene. Obviously, they're more aligned than we think because they're all about the money. But all to say that there's supposed to be a difference between the two parties, which they present that as a difference. But in Canada, they're not even fucking trying to hide it. They all stand for the same things. Yet they're trying to convince us that one's a liberals and the other ones are conservative. That being said, I would much rather the conservative win because they will not take us down the path of wokeness. That's the
Uh,
biggest difference between the right and the conservatives and the liberals right now is they're not as woke. Their base is not as woke. So if
mm,
he's elected, he'll probably Pierre Poilievre will probably um, stop the bleeding, not move the needle. It's not going to become better, but it's not going to become worse. Which, if we are under Mark Carney, the current prime minister that was not elected but chosen by a bunch of corrupt politicians from the Liberal Party, he's a self-described globalist. He used
mm.
to sit on the board of the WEF.
Oh
He
boy.
has worked to implement great the UK's how do you call it, digital currency. He was the one
Oh.
responsible for implementing it, and he fucked it up. So we're talking about a guy that has a UK citizenship
Mm,
that responds to the UK and the European leaders, self-described globalists with ties to the WEF. This is who we have right now as a unelected PM. And he's not scared to share it. It's what I'm telling you is a Google away. It's not even a conspiracy theory. He said it himself. He has ties to the WEF, which is the worst fucking organization in the world. If there's one that wants to put a one world government together, it's them. And he was
mm-hmm,
on their board. He wasn't just in favor of them. He was on their fucking board. So you gotta.
mm,
This is what Canada's facing an existential crisis, just like the US did.
mm-hmm,
The only difference is that the US, because you're a superpower, arguably number one or number two between you and China, depending on the day, you are a superpower that has the potential, and Trump is showing it right now, to influence the world with your policies.
mm-hmm.
This is why, if you look at Kamala Harris, if she would have been elected, China would have probably started a third world war. They would have already invaded Taiwan. It would
Mm-hmm.
the climate would have been extremely different. But because
Yes.
it's Trump, you kind of avoided the third world war, at least for right now.
Yeah.
Which that's why your last election was existential. And I'm so happy that I was in the US and I got to see it live in Alabama, right? I always knew I'd be there and I was happy I was there. So in Canada, we're facing something very similar, but we don't have a world presence the way the US does.
Mm-hmm,
You're kind of regulating the world right now between you and China. And that's all we're seeing right now.
mm-hmm.
In Canada, it's an internal war. But if we do not stop the bleeding with a guy like Pierre Poilievre, Mark Carney is going to finish the job that Justin Trudeau started, and he's going to
Oh.
turn us into a full fledged communist country, and we will become a province of fucking China instead of becoming maybe a state of the US. Like, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but
Yeah.
for the state part, but I'm not exaggerating for the China part.
Right.
Like, Trudeau and Carney was one of Trudeau's consultants. He's the one that helped him on the economy side that he destroyed for the past 10 years. So we have a guy that is just like Justin Trudeau, as in his goals are the same, but we have a guy with world ties that is extremely intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of having a guy that has beautiful hair and nice socks, we actually have the guy that used to control Trudeau that's in power right now. And that guy's scary as shit. Mark Carney is a scary,
Yes.
scary man because I cannot underestimate him because he's brilliant. He's
Mm.
extremely intelligent and he's evil as fuck. If you turn off the sound to one of his videos, you can see in his eyes he is evil, evil, evil. So it is. We
Like,
have an existential crisis
yeah.
that's going to be decided in the next election, and my wife and I both agree that if and that's at the end of April, and our child is not meant to join us until mid-July. We want to give birth here, and then we'll know by then what we're doing. But if Carney's elected, we're not staying in Canada. We're going to move to. My wife is Italian, so we're capable of leaving tomorrow if we wanted to and live in Italy, or we'll go back to the U.S. and hopefully we can get a citizen, not a green card, at least stay there for a longer period than 6 months at a time as a visitor.
Mm.
But this is how bad it is in Canada right now. So
Wow.
we'll see what happens.
That's really sad. Yeah, I feel bad for Canada because it seems like I don't know why they're so. Do you know why they're so left? Like, what caused that? Is it just it's always kind of been that way, or they just got corrupted from the inside out?
You know, we're very complacent. And
Mm.
I like to bring it back to what is the main difference between Canada and the US. Although we're like, I would say that we're the little brother of the United States. Like you fought a lot of our battles. We're very comfortable because we're in your shadow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're our own two biggest customers. Like we buy a lot of shit from each other. We have a great relationship. At least we used to have a great relationship. So we're very dependent on each other and we like it this way. Like it's been like that since I was born. Like it's always been like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I can come up with, and I would happily be proven wrong by your listeners, and if you think I'm wrong, please text me, please message me. I'm really curious because I've pondered this a lot because I don't claim to understand it. The only answer that I can find is that it goes back to our it's the way you guys are patriots. There's a lot of patriotism in the US based on the fact that you won your war of independence. You separated yourself again like from England
Yeah.
by fighting them, by then putting the most beautiful political document ever put together in your constitution with your two first amendment being free speech and the guns to get your free speech back if you ever lose it. That is the two first amendment. That is why your whole constitution is based on the fact you're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want. And if your government takes that right away from you, you can fight them to get it back with all the guns that you can have.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that in Canada. There's no
Mm.
patriotism in a way that we won our war of independence because we're still under England. Most people don't realize that. Most Americans don't realize that we are still under the king right now. We still have a representative of the king in Canada that's unelected, that's chosen by England to stamps all of our laws to say, "Yep, we approve, we approve."
Whoa.
It's not.
I did
It
not know
doesn't
that.
have the yeah, but most of them, why would you? Who the fuck cares about Canadian politics, right? So I get it. But all I'm saying is that it still needs royal assent, is how it's
Mm.
called. So
Interesting.
we have a non-elected individual that will say, yes, the king agrees or the queen agrees. Ever since I was born, it was the queen, but yes, England agrees. Now their role is more symbolic than anything else, but the mindset is still there. We did
Yeah.
not win our war of independence. We are still under England, so we're very complacent as people. It is not in our culture to be patriots, but in
Mm.
you guys' culture, you're extremely patriot. Like in the South, at least
Yeah.
you guys are like, fuck
South is crazy.
you,
Yeah.
USA, US. But we don't have that. We don't have that.
uh,
So I think that's where it comes from. At least that's the only explanation that I can find is because we lost our War of Independence or we didn't even have one in the first place. And you guys' culture is based on fucking winning. Our culture is based on taking orders and being
mm,
complacent.
that makes a lot of sense.
That's all I could think of, man. And I've been
Yeah.
trying to figure this out for years. And that's all I got. That is the only explanation that I got. And I will happily
It's
be proven wrong.
probably
If there's somebody out there that can get a better explanation than that, I'm all ears. I would love to hear what else it could be because I don't know what else it could be.
mm. I think you're onto something there because at least I've noticed where there's a lot more liberals in the US, you don't really ever see very patriotic things. Like they don't have flags out, they don't celebrate the national holidays, they don't really talk about our history. But yeah, all the conservative parts are very much attuned to what our history is about, so you might be really onto something there.
And we don't really, like I said earlier, we don't have real conservatives in Canada, at
Mm.
least not politically wise. There are people like me
Right.
that are more conservative, but
Mm-hmm.
there's no party to represent us really. So we are a minority of people.
Mm.
Plus, one of the questions that somebody asked me this week, they're like, what's Canadians' culture? And I'm like, bro, that's a very good fucking point. I don't know. I don't know
Mm.
what's Canadian culture. Like, to me, a Canadian is a guy. It's funny, I'm wearing this shirt today, but I'm wearing a plaid shirt. Like, to me, a Canadian is an old school guy wearing a plaid shirt that's going to chop down wood to be able to heat his house during the winter. Like the typical big beard, has the toque on. He's wearing his
Yeah.
boots and he's going to chop trees in the woods. That's a Canadian, because that's the culture in which, that's the climate in which we arrived in Canada 400 ish years ago. It was a
Mm.
very harsh climate compared to the US. Like, all of Canada's fucking cold. So we had to be able to deal with snow that will kill you. Like, we get minus 40 Fahrenheit where I'm from, bro, which is
Wow.
on, yeah, the average
That's
American does
cold.
not understand what the fuck that means. But
Yeah.
so this is the culture we come from. We come from a very survivalist culture, but I believe that in the separation of church and state that happened in the 70s,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, all the people that came over here were Christians. This is
Yeah.
how this fucking continent was built, is by Christians. You still have a connection of Christianity, and it's interesting, if you look, the more Christian states are normally more patriotic.
Yeah.
Yet, if you look in Canada, we've separated government from church in the 70s. And right now, as a Christian, I'm a very small part of Canada. I don't have a voice in Canada because
Mm.
I'm way too conservative for everybody, especially that I love God on top of being conservative. Hey, bro. And I'm a white guy on top of that. I'm the enemy. I'm the woke enemy right here. A white
Mm.
Christian dude that's outspoken. Oh, Jesus. Oh, but Jesus. So, yeah, man, I think it's a separation of church, the fact that we don't believe in God as a general rule,
Mm.
and we don't really have a culture, as in, our culture is not based on patriotism like the way
Mm.
a lot of the US is.
That's really interesting. Do you think people are wanting to change it, or do you think something big would have to happen for Canada to kind of adopt more of a conservative approach to things?
That's a good question, because I think, unfortunately, in order for that to happen, is going to have to get worse
Get
than what it is
worse.
right now. I think people are not hurting enough to see that there's another option. Especially, it kind of blows my mind, especially about when you look at what happened during COVID, where
Hmm.
we were, I'm unvaccinated. I'm part of the 10%, 9% of Canadians that's not vaccinated.
Wow.
And my wife is the same. And I'm a sales engineer by trade. I had a really great career going on. I was making really good money. And overnight, I had to quit my job because I refused to get
Mm.
vaccinated. I lost access to the gym. I lost access to restaurants. I lost access to everything. I was not able to, the only two places I was able to go is the pharmacy and the grocery store, because I didn't have a vaccination passport. So I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. Plus, I had to quit my job because I refused to get vaccinated. So we lived under a tyrannical government that put lockdowns on us, that took rights away. I couldn't leave the country because I wasn't vaccinated. I couldn't go on public transport because I wasn't vaccinated. They froze people's bank accounts that supported the Freedom Trucker. I was at the Freedom Trucker rally. I
Mm.
did all the rallies that were out there against COVID. I was there. And they took our rights away. And yet, to this day, there are still people ready to vote for the Liberal Party, the same party that took our rights away right here in Canada. And they look across the border to Trump and they tell me that he's a dictator, while we had real dictators running our country for years.
That's crazy.
So I don't know what it's going to take. Again, that's a question that I ponder pretty much every day,
Uh-huh.
but I think it's going to have to get worse before it gets better. But I don't know that if it does get worse, if it will ever be better. Like, I think we're going to pass a threshold. If Carney's elected, we're going to be passing a threshold where I don't think that we can ever become better. It's too late. It's going
Mm.
to take, I'm not going to stay here. If he's elected, I'm not going to stay here. I'm just going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that makes
Oh,
sense.
it's unfortunate, but It is a
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. Hmm. Thanks for sharing that. I was just curious because I have a few Canadian friends and they've told me about like living there and I'm like, yikes, like I would I would try to like leave just for like freedom of religion for one of them was I have a friend she said that you hardly ever hear anything about God on the radio.
You,
So,
what? Why would you? Why
yeah.
would you hear about this, considering that it is not even a topic up for discussion? Like
Hmm.
you look at our conservative party, and that is not even one of their platform.
Wow.
What it, bringing back God to the equation is not even a discussion that the conservatives have right now. Because again, we've gone so far left that it's not even a topic up for discussion. It's nothing that's going to move the needle. We are a small minority of people that would want that to be a reality. This is how far left we've become. And like I said earlier, what's one of the first thing that Marxists and socialists and communists do? They take God out of the equation and replace it
Yeah.
with big government.
Hmm. Yeah.
So imagine where we are if talking about God at a federal level during an election is not even up for debate.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But your friends are absolutely right. If God is not even on the table, how scary is it? How much left have we become?
Hmm.
We
Mm.
live in a messed up world, brother.
Sure do.
Mm.
But like it seems like it's kind of been that way for a while. Just
Yeah, and I don't
different.
think it's gonna get better.
I feel like
So
it's the same beast, just different skins, you know. Just comes out in
at
different
the
ways.
at the end of the day, man, it's one thing. I'm very happy to be a Christian. I'm very one of the reasons
Me too.
why Christianity is such a great thing for me is that this is all planned. Everything that's happening is supposed to happen. I do not have the power to change it. And why would I if that's the intent? All I'm trying to figure out is what am I supposed to learn from all of this?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
What is it? What is my role in everything that's going on right now?
Yeah.
Because changing it is not even an option. I don't have that power.
Yeah.
So you know that's the beautiful thing. If you realize that it's not up to you and I, what else is there to be except being? And you know, Alan Watts, I don't know if you know Alan Watts, but I was a Buddhist for a very long time. And Alan Watts is a professor from, uh, man, he probably died in the 70s. Don't quote me on this, but probably before that. But he was a big, he was a theologist. I guess you could
Okay.
describe him as a philosophy theologist. And one of the things he talked about is playing the role of the Joker or the
Mm.
jester, if you prefer, where you would understand that everything that's going on right now is part of the experience. But one day that experience will end when your body dies, your soul will remain and go back to the source, go back to your God, however you want to call him. But at the same time, you need to understand you're still here and it's part of the
Yeah.
it's part of your life. So might as well fucking laugh at it because it's all a fucking joke.
Mm.
So I like that mentality to say, I have a role to play here. I think I know what it is, but hopefully God tells me every day what it is, or at least He reminds me what it is when I need to be reminded of what it is. But at the same time, I'm just playing a role that I don't understand the implications of it. I can only understand what
Right.
my role is, but I have no fucking clue. I don't understand the game we're playing, but I understand that it's supposed to happen. So I'll play my part until the day I meet my maker. And until then, I'll still be happy and I'll still smile when everybody else is so serious and won't enjoy life. So, as bad as it gets, you'll still see me smiling because at the end of the day, I can't change it. I can only accept that it's happening and I have my role to play. And god damn, it's a funny one. So,
Mm. It's a good mental space to be in, I think. Have
that's the only
you
way to be, man. Especially that I talk
yeah.
about this shit on this every
Oh
single day.
yeah.
There's no way for me to not be like that and still find pleasure in life, or else I'd be depressed all the time, right?
Yeah, no, that's yeah, really. You go insane if you couldn't laugh at it.
Yeah.
You just feel
Oh
like
man,
it's
life would be
unbearable.
hard, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you cannot laugh at what's going on right now, that
Hmm.
means you'll never be able to enjoy the little things.
Yeah.
And if you don't enjoy the little things, you don't enjoy life, what's the point of living? Why
Yeah.
are you even here? Might as well put a gun to your forehead and just end it. If you don't think there's anything after this, if you don't think that everything that's happening is happening for a reason, that when you
Right.
die, you're going to live in the dirt, you're literally going to become dirt and nothing happens afterwards, the fuck's the point of living? Shoot yourself right now. And I'm not saying you should, but I'm just saying, man, it's going to be a tough life. If you
Oh
think that this
yeah.
is it, if that's all you got, this shitty fucking life is all you got, brother, I understand why people are depressed. I understand why people are, they look at life and they're like, is that it? Is that all there is? So to go back to what you were saying earlier, is there people that are turning to God, or are there people that are, you know, looking for a more conservative way of life? I don't know, but one thing I can tell you is that there's a lot of people out there that understand that there's something wrong. They might
Yeah.
not be able to put their fingers on it. They might not be able to put it into words to say, this is what my life is missing. But they know deep down in their soul that something is missing, that
Hmm.
they're lacking something. And
Yeah.
hopefully, the content that I create can help them understand that there is something more. I don't
Hmm.
claim to have the answers. I don't talk about Christianity on a daily basis because that's not my goal. My goal, I want people to ask me, why do you do what you do when so many people hate on you on a daily basis? Why do
Yeah.
you stand up for what you believe in? Then I can tell them I do it because I'm supposed to, and that's what my God wants me to do. It is not because I want to. My life would have been a lot easier if I just continued being a sales engineer, continue doing making the money I made. I would have a bunch of new houses by now.
Hmm.
Instead, I lost everything in order to pursue what God wanted me to do. I chose a lot harder life, but I'm playing the role I'm supposed to play. That's the question I want people to ask me. Why the fuck do you do what you do?
Hmm.
Because God told me to, because I have 100% faith in God. I don't trust men, I trust God. This
Hmm.
is a book I read, and this is why I read it, and this is why I live the way that I do. This is what I want to do with people because I know that there are people like me from years ago that's just, damn, there's something missing in my life. I don't know what it is, and I want to figure out what it is without being preached at. I'm not a pastor. I'm not here to preach you the Bible. I have no interest. I don't, why would I do that? I'm not a pastor. But if you
Hmm.
want to understand why I do what I do and why I stand up for what I believe in, yeah, that's because I was told to, and I don't have a right to deny him.
Hmm. Oh, that's powerful. Yeah. And that's what you want is you want people to ask the question like that, like, what's different? And then you say, well, this is what's different. And then you lead them towards what's, and it's out of their own will to look for him. That's what you want. Because if you say,
I'm a
yeah,
bridge, bro.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a bridge. I'm just there to point the direction. I
yeah,
want people to ask the question as to why I behave a certain way. And when they do, I'm just going to be, see, there's a shelf right there. That's my shelf. That's all biblical context right here. I will point there. Just say, hey, you have answers. I don't claim to, you have questions. I don't claim to have answers, but look, there's a bunch of books that you can read that will connect you to something that will give you answers. So there you go.
yeah,
That's my role. That's all I'm supposed to be is an enabler, a connector, a bridge, however you want to call it. That's it. That's my job.
yeah. Mm. Yeah, it's good stuff, you know.
We
It's
always
not.
have interesting conversation, don't we?
I always do, yeah. I was like, I was thinking about you for a while. I was like, man, I need to reach out to Nico. It's been a while. I need to hear his thoughts on what's going on. Because I remember
Anytime,
last time
brother.
we were like, man, this is. I remember last conversation we were just like geeking out, like this is crazy. What's been going on, you know? So, but it's like same kind of crazy. It's just different, different playground now, and so it's
Anytime, man. I'm always
yeah.
happy to come here and talk to you, man. Anytime.
Uh, I appreciate it. I I should probably call it
I think we're
there.
good. Just under 2 hours now. Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, under 2 hours.
That's
But
4.5 hours of podcast straight. Like
dang,
I've been recording since noon, and it's 4:20 now. Like nonstop
wow,
since noon. So
dang. I respect it. The effort.
people don't understand what it takes to be in front of a camera for that long and still be entertaining. Because as much
Mm-hmm.
as it's all about knowledge and the way you communicate, you need to be entertaining for people
Oh
to.
yeah.
And it's not easy to be on for that long. Like by this time, I'm fucking exhausted. Like I'm tired now.
Mm-hmm.
So because now I'll be able to dim and down and just do whatever it is I do on Friday and eat crappy food.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. It's always a
Well,
pleasure, man. I'm always
yeah.
gonna accept your invitation on. I'm always happy to talk to you. You're
Oh,
the next generation of guys that's gonna need to take over because I'm gonna be too old soon. So
yeah. Well, I really appreciate you always taking the time. I really enjoy talking with you, and I'm thankful for all the content you create for everyone out there. And I've seen it like starting to change some people's minds. So thanks for doing that.
yeah, man. It's again, thank the men upstairs because it's not my
Yeah.
choice. I just do what I'm supposed to. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not I will not take recognition for what you just said. I'll just
All
dump it
right.
to the man himself and say that I'm just doing his work. So I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're saying. At least it means that he was right all along. That I can make a difference, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't belong like that. The recognition does not belong to me. It belongs to the
Mm-hmm.
guy upstairs. I'm just doing what I'm being told.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, take care. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Same to you, brother.
Yeah.